What's up, and welcome to Foxboro Rush. George Balekji, he's Adam Pellerin. Pellis, how are we doing today, my man?
You know, I was thinking, I'm like, all right, I know Travis Thomas comes at you like 100 miles an hour when he's hosting the show. I was wondering what you were going to bring. Yours, I would say, was measured but firm, confident, and I like it. I'm good, man. I am doing great. I'm looking forward to this show with you. We have yet to do one of these VODs together, so I'm looking forward to getting in on the rush with George. Let's go.
Thank you, my friend. Yeah, I can't even get close to Travis's energy. I don't know anyone on this planet that can. Exactly. No one on this earth. So I don't even try. Just go and do what I'm going to do. Hands at 10 and 2. Keep it under 60, and I know we're going to get there. Yeah, and for anyone wondering at home, wherever you get your podcasts, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, we're now on Spotify. Go ahead and check them out. And you can catch plenty of Adam in extra time. It's him, Sophia Yurkevich, and Jemiah Webster sharing their best stories from covering the Bruins and the Red Sox. And, of course, all their experiences as being a broadcaster throughout their careers as well. Again, that's extra time. That's wherever you get your podcast. So let's get into it here on Foxboro Rush. Christian McCaffrey got paid. Justin Jefferson got paid. We're going to talk about those two. And we're also going to go through some careers. Who would you rather be? We're talking Patrick Mahomes, Peyton Manning, Rob Gronkowski, Travis Kelce, all of it. We're going to compare them and pick between the two. But let's start with Christian McCaffrey. Rewarded by the 49ers, 2-year, $38 million extension. Hiked up some money into these years. Keeps him in San Francisco through his age 30 season. He's about to be 28, but the best at what he does. What did you think of this signing and this payday for a running back, Adam, which really doesn't happen anymore?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I mean, he's a dual threat, right? And I think that's what makes him valuable. Obviously, a big part of that Niners offense. And I was looking at some of the numbers. I was like, I wonder how often he's on the field. Well, how about 80% of the offensive snaps last year? He had a game where he was on the field 100% of the offensive snaps back in September. You know, he's turning 28, I believe, on Friday. Mm-hmm. You know, here's the thing. I like the deal. I'm glad that I'm glad he got rewarded, you know, because he's been outstanding since coming over from Carolina. He had some injury issues in Carolina, but he was healthy last year with the Niners, obviously a big part of what they're doing. But I did some research on guys who are kind of similar, right? Dual threat guys, and Marshall Faulk is the first name that comes to mind. LaDainian Tomlinson's another name that comes to mind. And I was looking at some of the numbers, right? Obviously, there's a short shelf life for running backs in the NFL. They get beat up a lot. And I was looking at Marshall Faulk's age 28 season. Dude played 14 games, close to 1,400 yards, 12 rushing TDs, 83 catches, 765 yards receiving, 9 touchdowns. Age 29 season, 953 yards on the ground in 14 games, 80 catches, 537 receiving yards. Age 30, 11 games, 818 yards on the ground, 45 catches. Age 31, 14 games, 774. And then I'll just quickly, LT, 28, 1,400 yards on the ground, 60 catches. Age 29, 1,100 yards on the ground, 52 catches. Age 30, missed the first 2 games of his career, 730 yards on the ground, 20 receptions, no touchdown receptions. Age 31, 914, 652, 368. So you're going to have the decline from Christian McCaffrey as well. But I think over the next 2 years, coming off one of the best seasons of his career, you're going to be able to maximize him. You're going to be able to use him a lot. The Niners are right there, obviously, in the Super Bowl last year. So I think it's a good deal. It keeps him happy. It rewards him for what he has done with the Niners. So overall, even though you could be looking at the last couple of years and saying, ugh, I think over the next couple of years, you'll be saying, okay, I get it.
This is a team that was an injury or two away from winning the Super Bowl because Drake Greenlaw gets injured, tears his Achilles, coming off the sideline, changed the complete complexity of that defense and how they're matching up with the Chiefs. Go earlier in the season, Hufanga, their all-pro safety, towards ACL, he was done for the year, right? This team was so close. It was just about who's healthy, and, oh, by the way, you have literal Thor on the other side of the ball facing you in Patrick Mahomes. Just someone that will beat you no matter what. It keeps him healthy now. Who cares about it down the line? You're going to pay him now while Brock Purdy is still on his rookie contract and before he gets paid. I think this is smart, and it projects to other players that aren't for the 49ers now. You come in, whatever the age, if you produce, we're going to pay you. I think it's a great payday for him. You pointed out how often he's on the field, and there's a label. Well, a running back's getting paid when they don't get paid anymore by a lot of teams. I understand why teams don't do that. But with Christian McCaffrey, he's not a running back. He's a weapon. They line him up everywhere, gets it done as a dual threat back. Will the decline come along? Yeah, probably when he's 30, 31, 32. Deal with that issue now. If they get a Super Bowl now for a team that's been so close, hasn't got in the quarterback position right now, they finally do with Purdy, but they got to pay him. Hasn't got in the defense right now, they finally do. But that's to deal with coordinators leaving. If you keep Christian McCaffrey in San Francisco, and like you said, Adam, keep him healthy, I love this deal. You have the money, you spend it. Because if you get a ring, it's worth every penny, no matter what happens after this point with CMC. We know about a team right here in the backyard that'll talk about burning cash, sit on $46 million in cap space and won't use any of it. At least this team is keeping their premier guys, their all-pro guys happy and in the building. So I like how you pointed out that LaDainian Tomlinson drop-off too, though, because I remember watching that MVP season in 2006, 28 rushing touchdowns, 3 receiving, set the regular season record for most touchdowns, had a few great years for the Chargers after that. It was the second he hit 30, the second he went to the Jets, we saw fall off a cliff. But if San Fran capitalizes on Christian McCaffrey, gets him showing up, gets him happy, 28, 29, 30, win a Super Bowl within the next 3 seasons, it doesn't matter who you paid as long as you won that Super Bowl, in my opinion, on that one.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you. Again, it's not about the last 2 years of the contract when he turns 30 and 31. It's about the next 2 years. It's about this team right now that remains intact. Now, there are some questions about the wide receiver group, which I think we'll talk about just a little bit in terms of what the Niners will do with Brandon Ayuk and his situation, and even maybe Deebo Samuel. But at least you have McCaffrey. You got a guy who's so productive for you, that's on the field for you a lot, that was a game changer for you, that helped you get to the Super Bowl. And again, is a guy that you can rely on if you're Brock Purdy and you need an out, right? You need a check down. You got a Christian McCaffrey right there who can give you yards after the catch. I mean, it's a great situation for McCaffrey and for the Niners.
And it's simply put, and I'll propose this question to you, but the 49ers aren't what they are. That offense isn't what it is, and the machine it can be without Christian McCaffrey. You pay someone, there are running backs that are out there that are great at pass catching, good at route running, can do it all, are fast or physical, but no one does it to the level that CMC does. And he's been healthy when he's been with San Francisco. As much as keeping his legs rested and keeping them ready and the longevity of it to have him be there for you at the end of the regular season, the Niners manage him well. They know how to use him. And you know what? To me, they're not the same offense without him. You have Brock Purdy. You got the quarterback right. Let's see what he is without these weapons. He wouldn't be the same guy. And you said it too, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, they're next up. Most likely Ayuk. He'll really get paid as a receiver out there. But this isn't the same team and the same threat offensively without Christian McCaffrey. And the whole Kyle Shanahan offense is predicated off mismatches, more importantly, off the run game and establishing it. And Christian McCaffrey gives them that, but then the versatility he does outside of the backfield as well.
Yep. No, I agree with you. And I was thinking, right, it's one of the things that, and I'm sure you're going to get to it next, but talking about, McCaffrey when he retires, where he's going to rank among the great running backs in the NFL. And, if we could talk about right now, I was looking at some old school numbers, right? Because he's not your conventional running back, right? Like ground and pound type of guy. But if you look at, again, the comparison to Falk, right, who had 12,000 yards in his career. He has the most receiving yards of any running back in NFL history. So if you look at the math and you say, all right, let's say McCaffrey, again, being generous, all right, let's say McCaffrey plays until he's age 35, right? Which you could see because he can catch passes out of the backfield. Now, that's another 7 years. He has to stay healthy, but we've seen guys hang around for a while, not the player that they once were, but they're able to contribute in some way. If he's able to play another 7 years, let's say he gets, to the 12,000 yard mark, that would put him around top 10 in NFL history in rushing yards. And let's say, again, he averages 400 to 500 receiving yards a year for the next 7 years. That's another 28 on top of the 43 that he already has. That would get him past Falk for the most receiving yards by a running back. So we're talking combined about 19,000 yards total. That puts him up there in the upper echelon of running backs, because I think at that point you're talking about durability too, right? If he's able to last that long, I could see it. The shape that this guy is in, he's an absolute freak. Yeah. I could see him being amongst the top 10, 9, even 8 running backs in NFL history easily, right? Because you got the Mount Rushmore with Barry Sanders and Walter Payton and Emmitt Smith, right? And Jim Brown. Marshall Faulk is in that conversation too for what he could do receiving and on the ground. But it's not a jump to say that he could be one of the best when it's all said and done.
I love that Marshall Faulk comparison, because that's a dual threat back and a guy that won MVP when Peyton Manning and Tom Brady were in the league. So it speaks to what his ability is and what his game-changing dynamicism was like when he was in the running back in the league. But you brought up those like top 4, top 5, like Emmitt Smith, Walter Payton, Barry Sanders, Jim Brown, Eric Dickerson, right? LaDainian Tomlinson, Adrian Peterson. But I can see Christian McCaffrey being in that conversation. And those guys had long careers except for Barry Sanders, and credit to him bowing out when he did, because it was going nowhere when he was with the Lions. And even LT, I feel like there was such a quick drop-off to his ability and the impact he had on the game. When he got to New York, you just saw him become a shell of what he once was with the Chargers. But how Christian McCaffrey takes care of himself, how he's looked, this goes back to his Stanford days as well. Just being an elite playmaker, always being in tip-top shape. When he was with Carolina, getting it done, just dealt with like injury bugs. Then he comes to San Francisco and stays healthy. And especially being in this system, what this extension will do for him, it keeps you in the best offense in football, with the best offensive mind in football even longer. That these numbers will go up. He definitely, in my opinion, will be in that top 10 conversation as well. As far as who he pushes out, it could be an Earl Campbell. It could be a Marshall Faulk. It could be an Adrian Peterson. But this is a guy that is really the first of his kind when it comes to being that dynamic playmaker. Now, Faulk and Dickerson and LT were great pass-catching backs, but none of them were the receiver that Christian McCaffrey can be when he lines up out wide. And I think that's where I give him this edge on all this, you know? And if he keeps playing for a long period of time, you said it, the all-time numbers, I mean, they could just be ginormous when it comes to what CMC gets done. And then he's also, of course, in the spot where he could easily get a ring, being on this 49ers team, being so close. And if he does that, it puts him over the top, puts him in the Hall of Fame. It'll be the all-time numbers. It'll be the ability on the field, being the best running back of his generation as well. All he really needs is to be a winner. But, you know, in the NFL, especially as a running back, there's so much that has to happen outside of that. But McCaffrey, to me, one day could be top 10. And you just said it too, and I agree with the names you mentioned him. And I love that plan you lay out for him. And it is. When you said 35, I'm like, that's a big number. But then you're smart. Yeah. And you're a guy that knows what it's like to take care of himself and lift a hell of a ton of weight. You hit the nail on the head. McCaffrey takes care of himself, works out hard, is yoked. He could be playing for a long time, I think. No problem about that.
Were you talking to me about a guy who works out hard and lifts a ton of weight?
Quick story, run into Adam at the gym, giving him crap because I never see him there, but because he has a whole setup at home. And Adam like, oh, I got to get my warm-up in. Come talk to me while I warm up. I'm like, all right, fine. Doing bent over single arm rows. What does Adam grab? Not the 40, not the 50, not the 60. Just grabs the 80 without even trying. Bent over rows, single arm. I'm like, all right, I'm getting out of here before Pellerin just, puts me to complete shame. That's
Listen,
a true story.
When you get
cannot
to be
deny
an old man like me, first of all, you got to work even harder. Second of all, you got to start the lawnmower somehow, right? So it can be tough sometimes. So you got to make sure that you get your rows in. That's what you got to do. But I'll tell you what, I look at a guy like Christian McCaffrey in the condition that he's in, man, and I don't want to even look at him before I go to the gym because I'll get too depressed. I'll be like, oh man, this guy is just, I can't, So I try to keep up with the young guns like you, George, in the gym, because it's all I can do. It's all I can do at this point.
I look at CMC too. I'm just like, I'm picking up the chocolate chip cookie because no matter how many of those I don't have, like I said, I'll never look like him. But you got to start the lawnmower. So speaking of one running back that got paid, it's Christian McCaffrey, a wide receiver that got paid.
Oh my gosh.
And paid is just underselling it.
Oh my gosh.
$110 million guaranteed for Justin Jefferson, highest non-quarterback contract in NFL history, and just blew out the water what the previous guaranteed money was for receivers because it was A.J. Brown with $84 million. Minnesota comes in and goes, we don't care. Here's $110 million. Stay here. You're the best at what you do. What were you thinking when you saw those numbers? There's 4 years, $140 million, and it's a true 4-year contract, but $110 million guaranteed. And guess what? He's going to be 28, 29 by the time his contract's up, and he's going to get paid again.
I was thinking about Kirk Cousins. Who's not going to be throwing him anymore.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about Sam Darnold or J.J. McCarthy. I mean, I was thinking like, man, like, what's that going to look like? That was one of my thoughts. My first thought was like, yeah, the $110 million guarantee, but $88 million on signing. So they basically said, okay, sign. Here's $88 million. I can't even conceptualize that amount of money. It's crazy. But with that said, we're talking about the wide receiver market in the NFL. It's all relative. And Justin Jefferson he's just in a different class. He is unbelievable. This guy has averaged 100 yards per game, close to it, since he got into the league. Mm-hmm. Like, that's ridiculous, George. That's unbelievable. And so I look at the contract. Yeah, it's a lot of money, but man, for so many reasons, that's the right thing. It's the right thing for the Vikings to do because this guy, and again, like, I found a great quote from Kirk Cousins last year, and I'll try to get through it quickly, because you're looking at Jefferson and you're thinking about the talent, you're thinking about the 5 different types of gritty dances that he does after touchdowns, right? But this is great. So from Kirk Cousins last year, he said, among the many traits, the trait I think might be his best is he's pretty fearless. He catches the ball and people are all around him. There's a lot of situations where guys get alligator arms and they hear footsteps. That's not him. He runs through it. I'm not trying to put him in those situations where he's getting it and having to hear footsteps a lot. But when he does, he tends to make the play, hold on to the ball, and that's a great thing to see. Now think about that for a second. How many guys have you seen go over the middle over the years where they hear the footsteps and they can't make the play? That's not Justin Jefferson. And for his quarterback at the time to say that's pretty impressive. So that's one of the things. And the other thing, George, I know you want to get your thoughts in on it too. This guy's marketable. Yeah. That's a big part of it, man. I just mentioned the gritty, right? And that became a viral sensation. You talk about jersey sales. He's top 10 in jersey sales. The other guy that we talked about, Christian McCaffrey, he's top 10 in jersey sales. That's a big part of, because you're paying the player for what he does on the field, but you're also paying him for marketability. Fans want a piece of Justin Jefferson, whether that's, apparel or whatever it is that's attached to that marketing wise. There are other, sponsorship deals. All of those things factor in. And that's why it's smart to retain superstars when you can, because they can be profitable in so many different ways. And I know he's a human being, but we're talking about the business aspect of it right now. So it was the right thing to do. I think it's perfect amount of money. It's whatever Justin Jefferson wants, he gets. That's it.
I just love how this just completely reset the market. Now, I was expecting the Vikings to come in and go, here's $90 million, here's $95. And they just said, no, here's $110 million. And as you said, $88 million off the bat. Now, like that bite, I want to start with that, though, the Kirk Cousins takeaway, because I think that's brilliant. It's also someone of his size and his catch radius and his ability and his speed, where he could say, I'm never going to go over the middle. Like, I don't care. Keep me as a boundary guy. Throw it up to me on the outside. I'll go get it. Throw me on a deep post. But that just shows, and it just boils it down so much. But Justin Jefferson's a football guy. Loves playing the sport, loves the contact, isn't afraid, and will go out and make a play. Whether you need 7 yards on a first down or you need 70 on a long touchdown to break the game wide open, He'll do that. And then you talk about his ability, what he does. He only played 10 games last season, had over 1,000 receiving yards. So, yes, you're right. His last 2 seasons, 106, 107 yards per game was his average. You have to plan your entire defensive game plan around him. And if you pay him like this, keep him happy. You front load this contract, get him happy now. When it comes back to renegotiations, the market will be reset by then when you got to pay him again. But you also, it's doing it right where you don't keep anything nasty. You don't come in and go, we're only going to give you 80 million. We're only going to give you 90 only, right? But you go 110, this is how much we appreciate you. We see how great you are. We love you, Justin. We're going to keep you here. Here's 110 million to stay. And he talked about the marketing of it too. I think it's brilliant. Him showing up, wearing his grills, being flashy, the big Oakley sunglasses he loves to rock. You see him everywhere, and he's a household name. These jersey sales will fly off the rack even more because people in Minnesota, and just how fandom doesn't stick to one geographical area anymore, where there are kids growing up watching Justin Jefferson. They love him, the player, not the Vikings or nothing about Minnesota, but they love him. They're going to buy his jersey even more now. And there's a fear. You buy a jersey, you don't know what's going to happen. He'll stick with it. But you did point out that J.J. McCarthy, I have hope. I think he's going to be fine. Now, will he put up the same numbers? Is J.J. McCarthy going to be Kirk Cousins right away? No. But with Kevin O'Connell as his play caller, with the offensive line he has to work with, and now with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison locked up along with TJ Hawkinson, the kid will still come out and produce, and he's ready to play right now. And if not, Sam Darnold's fine. Yeah, neither of them are Kirk Cousins, but I think it still will pay off at the number it is, That's my thing with this.
Yeah, I mean, it could very well play out that way, George, but what if it doesn't?
Yeah.
And if it does, well, no, and I say this because if it doesn't, and it's not going well on the field, at least Justin Jefferson knows he's getting paid, right? So if he goes out there and plays this season and he doesn't have a contract and they're not playing well and McCarthy can't get him the ball, he's thinking to himself, man, like not only did they not pay me, but they give me this guy, all right? I lost my quarterback. I advocated for Kirk Cousins in the offseason, right? If you remember, right? He advocated for him. And they don't bring him back. I got him. I'm not getting paid. I mean, that's a bad situation to be in. So if it doesn't work out, it's a good thing that they paid Justin Jefferson because they don't have to deal with that now. That's out of the way, right? And so hopefully for the Vikings' sake, it does work out. Everybody's happy. But they avoided a huge distraction, in the fall. Or in training camp, fall, whatever, by giving him this deal.
It'll be like mid-November, maybe late October. Vikings have like 2 or 3 wins so far. It's 3rd and 6. They call like a deep drag to Justin Jefferson. J.J. McCarthy sails it over his head. They punt for the 12th time that day, and he walks off. He goes, 88 million. I'm cool. And then another year will happen. Then he'll be pissed off, and he'll be demanding to get out of there.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And you know what? You maybe say, you see a Justin Jefferson encouraging a young quarterback on the sidelines rather than sitting there, with the right chin straps unbuttoned, sitting on the bench, man.
If 88 million hit your bank account tomorrow, what would you do, Adam? What's the first thing?
That's a great question. You know what's funny, George? I did think about that, and I said at the beginning I couldn't conceptualize, but I'm starting to conceptualize a little bit. I think I would probably just get like a sick car, like I'd probably, and I don't know what that is. Lambo? I definitely like that. No,
Ferrari,
right? You'd like SUV, like it'd probably be like Land Rover, like Range Rover, like I'm going that route, because I got the fam, the fam's got to come with.
Fair.
You know what
child
I mean?
Seat in the back.
Yeah, and and I also talked about doing those, bent over rows and starting the lawnmower. I get tricked out rider mower. That's probably what I do. I wouldn't have to do it. So I'd probably get weaker, because I wouldn't have to train.
You don't have to work as much. Yeah, someone else is mowing your lawn at this point. You could afford landscapers.
Yeah, I like mowing my lawn though. I like having the working the grounds. I like working the grounds.
Salt of the earth, bootstrap Adam Pellerin. That's what they call him. He wins $88 million.
To a point, by the way. To a point. I'm not going to get my hands too dirty here if I got 88 million.
I was about to juice you up and say he wins an $88 million lottery. Adam just gives it all away and says, "No, I want to grind. I want my nose by the grindstone every day. I want to earn that 88 million. I don't want it given to me." If it happens to me, I'm just disappearing. I said this to Travis. He called my bluff. I said, no. You will not hear from me for like 5 years maybe. then I'll come back out and return. But like $88 million, I'm chasing summer. That's it. You want a truck? Maybe I'd get a boat. I don't know. I'm disappearing, throw my phone in the ocean, and that's it.
That's actually a smart call. I know you want to go to the next topic, but actually, we stay on this for a second. That's a smart call because you're going to have a lot of people that are all of a sudden your best friend again.
Yeah.
You'd be like dudes you never heard of from middle school who somehow got your number hitting you up. Like you don't want any of that action, So disappear, throw the phone away.
And I got to say, $88 million, you can get your souped up Range Rover, Adam, and you can still afford a Ferrari too. You can get the best of both worlds. Just a lawnmower fits in one truck and not the other.
Maybe I could get a Ferrari lawnmower.
They definitely make those somewhere in Italy. Get that custom paint job. Hey, speaking of Justin Jefferson getting paid, we know who's next up. And we said it in the opening too. It's Brandon Ayuk. It's CeeDee Lamb. It's Jamar Chase. T. Higgins is out there. What do you think happens? Who do you think is the next receiver to get paid?
Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I was thinking CeeDee Lamb. The situation in Dallas, they got to pay a wide receiver and the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a lot of money going out the door. And, I don't know how that situation is going to play out. It seems like it's a little more crystallized in Cincinnati because if we're talking about upper echelon wide receivers, while CeeDee Lamb is there, the Bengals already paid their quarterback, right? So Jamar Chase is sort of on that Justin Jefferson level as well. And he's only 24 years old. And so I can kind of see that happening and him getting a Jefferson-like contract. And, it's not – I don't think – if he gets the same, right, for $140, I believe, was Jefferson, right, the contract overall, the $110 was the guaranteed money, and that's what you look at. It won't be as high of an AAV because it'll be spread out over 6 years probably, right? And they'll reallocate some of that money. But I think it'll be similar in terms of dollar amount because I think Jamar Chase is that of that ilk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a top 3 receiver to me. What just gets me is that I can't imagine the Bengals come out, who also are known to be just one of the cheapest ownership groups in all of the NFL, but to come out and say, what are you going to do, $112 million guaranteed? I think they just look at that A.J. Brown contract and go, hey, this is what we're working with. Here's $86 million, here's $88, and it just makes it even more ridiculous that like Justin Jefferson got $88 million at signing. But here's $88 million guaranteed. And like you said, we'll pay you 5-6 years. We'll take you 24 to 30. By the time you're out of it, Joe Burrow will be up on his contract. We'll reassess it from there. But Jamar Chase is an easier deal to get done. That might mean CeeDee Lamb gets paid more, though, because it's all about timing with these guys. Every time someone gets paid, it goes, blank is the highest paid receiver in NFL history. That was Amon-Ra St. Brown. Then A.J. Brown came into the fold. It was A.J. Brown. Then Justin Jefferson came along, right? So if it's Jamar first, I think CD would be fine with it as long as the Cowboys pay him. And if it's not the Cowboys, someone else does. And it's speaking on that Dallas issue overall as a whole, they just didn't hit the reset button at the quarterback position at the right time. Like, keep paying Dak, keep going with him. I understand you'd rather have somebody than nobody, but they're just the victim of weak quarterback drafts right now. That's hindering them and holding them back. Because if there was a good rookie, and it just was a good rookie class, but where they're in the spot of picking, and again, it goes into if they got a J.J. McCarthy, maybe they were banking on a Michael Penix to fall to them. Who knows? As a great passer, just a lefty instead of Dak the righty. But if they have Penix fall to them, then they can easily say, we're not paying Dak, let him walk, let's bank on this rookie and pay CeeDee Lamb. It just shows everything that goes into getting these deals done. But I'm with you. I'm going on Jamar Chase. I think he's the next to get paid. And we'll see a T. Higgins who will get paid like $54 million, I think, by another team because of what happened with Nico Collins to get paid by the Texans. I just can't see the Bengals. And you said it. The Bengals pay the quarterback. Now they got to pay the receiver. I can't imagine they pay their quarterback, the receiver, and the receiver too. Just like the Cowboys will only pay their quarterback or their wide receiver. Just the money management game of that comes into it is so interesting. It's fascinating. It's all timing for these guys. Whoever's the last to get paid gets paid the most for the most part. We'll see with these top 5 guys in the NFL.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I was just thinking as you were talking about Nico Collins, and that's, and the situation they got over there, man. I mean, you're talking about the best team in Texas. It's shifting over to the Houston Texans. I mean, they are absolutely loaded offensively. And, they got the quarterback now, CJ Stroud. And we've talked a lot about him. And when I was on with Travis, we were talking about him. I know you guys have talked about him as well. And just thinking about the situation over there. And, and that begs another question mentioned too, right? And and I think we were going to get to this, shortly, was Tyreek Hill, right? And so Tyreek Hill is talking about. I mean, it's unbelievable. I feel like it's all we've talked about this offseason are these contract extensions, right? It's like these guys are under contract, but they see guys get paid, and they're talking about their money, what they're going to get next, and Tyreek Hill falls in that category. Situation's a little different though, George, because he's 30 years old, right?
Yeah.
And I know he's still elite. I know he's still the cheetah. I know, I get it. But they did just sign Waddle, right? And so I kind of wonder. I wonder what it's going to be. That's what I'm watching for that, because that's going to be interesting to see how they handle it too, because they also have a quarterback who's talking about contract extensions, and they have to handle that too. So that one is one to watch.
It's would you rather have somebody than nobody? But you're going to be paying that somebody a lot. And we've seen what happened in the New York Giants when they paid Daniel Jones. But again, there was no one else out there. Can Tua be better? And it would be smart for him to stay with Mike McDaniel and that system there where he plays so well. In my opinion, he should give the Dolphins a hometown discount and say, hey, give me $45 million a year. Give me 40, which is ridiculous to say for a hometown discount. Give me $40 million a year. I'll come under market. Let's pay the rest of the guys. Keep me protected. Keep the receivers. Let me stay with you, Mike McDaniel. But I can't imagine Tua's agent being on board with that. All right, so one quarterback that will get paid eventually, but it's coming off a stellar rookie season, was C.J. Stroud. And now he was on the podcast, $1 million worth of game. And he was asked if he would rather have Eli Manning or Aaron Rodgers' career. Eli, 2 Super Bowls. But you know what? Never really a great elite quarterback, but was clutch as hell. We know that here in New England. Or you have Aaron Rodgers, who's one of the most talented to ever play the position. Top 5, top 3 when he was at the height of his powers. But 1 Super Bowl ring. CJ Stroud's response was a great non-answer. He's like, you want that ring, dog. All right, they both have rings. But basically making it sound like he wants Eli Manning's career in that because he won 2 Super Bowls. Who would you rather take? Would you rather be Eli Manning, who is, okay, but then great in the biggest moments? Or would you rather take Aaron Rodgers, who's been fantastic for so long, but also has been a pumpkin in the playoffs and has just 1 Super Bowl ring?
It's gotta be Eli Manning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron Rodgers has all the stats. Aaron Rodgers is a better quarterback. Right? I mean, I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy. But Eli Manning has 2 Super Bowls, and he beat Tom Brady twice.
Only person on earth that can say that.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's just like, watching the Tom Brady roast, which I think we talked about once or twice, and like Eli's name comes up as part of the roast of Tom Brady. There's nobody else that came up outside of Giselle that came up in the roast that zinged Tom Brady more than Eli Manning and what he did, what he accomplished against the GOAT.
Yeah.
For that alone, George, I'd rather be Eli Manning. I would, and he might not get in the Hall of Fame, but I mean that sucks. But at the end of the day, I don't know. Having the bragging rights. Aaron Rodgers doesn't have that
at all.
And Aaron Rodgers is, statistically, when it's all said and done, is going to be behind Tom Brady, right? He's behind Tom Brady in everything.
I love this argument. I've never thought about it like this.
Eli Manning's not.
Yep.
And that's what does it for me.
The biggest moment twice, because think about it like this: it's the David Tyree throw. That pass, where he had Richard Seymour clenching his jersey, a future Hall of Famer. Richard Seymour, within his grips, somehow escapes, somehow finds David effing Tyree, who catches that over Rodney Harrison, who should be a Hall of Famer as well. Draped all over him, right? Then you go to 2011, makes that dime down the sideline. Who was it? Mario Manningham? Beat him again. He beat Tom Brady. Now, it was the defensive line. It was the defense for the Giants. It was those guys up front, dominating line of scrimmage.
Up in the 2nd Super Bowl.
Right, that Chase Blackburn interception to decide it was BS. It was Gronk on a bad ankle. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry to bring it up that much. Thank you for tuning me out.
Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah.
But it is when you look at it, and you know what it is too, Adam? I'll tell you this as someone that grew up in New Jersey. I'd rather be Eli Manning, where if he's in New York City or anywhere in New Jersey, because he lives in the burbs of Jersey now, quiet life. He's in F-45 classes probably on a Tuesday morning just doing his own thing, right? I would rather be that with those 2 Super Bowl rings and an okay career where I won't get into the Hall of Fame. Let's say he doesn't. I'd rather be that, but still embraced and loved by New York City and New Jersey than what Aaron Rodgers has done to the Green Bay Packers and Wisconsin. Now, given he brought him a ring, your royalty there, I get it. But just how big of an a-hole he's been throughout his time there. And even now what he's doing with the Jets, where if it doesn't work out, New York hates you too. Because if you just kept it a football, they would have loved you. I'd rather be Eli Manning. Yes, he has more rings, but you think about it, like you'd rather be Rodgers, a Hall of Famer, top 10 in every category. Yes, you're right behind Brady, but I'd rather be Eli, where I was just okay, but I won and I beat Brady, and I was clutch as hell, and down the line I'm more beloved than Aaron Rodgers, who, whoever you ask, will have a different opinion on him, and that's a guy that just loves to go on his darkness retreats and drink his ayahuasca and just disappear somewhere in the desert. So,
yeah, boy, I'll tell you, I never thought of it that way. That's cool.
I'm thinking longevity. I'm just thinking longevity on this. Like, you're living a very happy life if you're Eli, and it is too. Like, he's definitely fully aware of who he is. And Tom Brady ended the roast. You said he ended the roast. F you New York. F you Eli twice. Tom Brady, you were not there. You were not in the audience, and you still have that fragment of real estate in Tom Brady's head. Not many people in the world could say that. Hey, how about Peyton Manning or Patrick Mahomes?
Patrick Mahomes.
Same.
Yeah,
I don't want to be an echo chamber. I'd rather be Mahomes.
Yeah, and when I saw that one, I was like, yeah, that's a no-brainer for me, And now again, and it all goes back to Tom Brady. The battles that Manning and Brady had over the years was special, and Mahomes doesn't have that. Yeah. He doesn't have that one guy that he's gone total. Now, of course,
he's Joe Burrow, but
yeah, but they're not there yet. They're not at the Peyton Brady level yet. Mahomes, of course, did face Brady twice, right? Once the AFC Championship, once the Super Bowl. But of his generation, he doesn't have that sort of that guy yet. And Peyton did beat Tom Brady when he was with the Broncos in the AFC title game. He beat him with the Colts in the AFC title game. Brady got the better of him early on. They had a great rivalry. From that perspective, that's something that Peyton has that Patrick Mahomes will never have. And I hate to center this conversation around Tom Brady, but he is the GOAT, right?
Yeah.
And that's the bar. And that's the bar for Mahomes too. But with that said, like he's well on his way to being the closest thing to Tom Brady that we've seen, right? And there's no question about it. And he's got $500 million.
The ending part for me, right? Yeah, he's already 3 Super Bowl rings, 3 league MVPs, and he is that next. Tom Brady was a GOAT. He's the next GOAT. He's changing how the position is played. He's making plays we've never seen before. And he's just proven. I mean, he went back-to-back. Brady went back-to-back. Like, he's already doing things to match Brady on this sense. But from day one, sad his rookie season, but once he was a starter, he was unbelievable. And shoot, man, if Dee Ford isn't offsides, Mahomes beats Brady on that one, and then who knows what happens in the Super Bowl against the Rams. All right, more quarterback talk. Let's go to the NFC West. We've been putting out our quarterback rankings division by division here on the chat. I'm curious to hear this from you, Adam. This is an interesting division because you have a lot of talented guys. You have a great system guy. But ranking the quarterbacks in the NFC West, the Cardinals, the Seahawks, the Rams, and the 49ers, who's your 1 through 4 ranking of these quarterbacks?
All right, I'm a victim of recency bias, and you'll understand once my list comes out.
Go on.
Yeah, Brock Purdy, I think, is number 1. Got him to the Super Bowl, love the story, had a great year. Matthew Stafford, got a Super Bowl on his resume. He's 36 years old, but he's still got, he's got some juice left in the tank. I'm going with Kyler Murray over Geno Smith.
Wow.
And, Kyler Murray finished the season pretty strong. I was looking at the last few games. 6 touchdowns, 1 interception, about 230 per game. I don't, and Marvin Harrison Jr., is going to help things out there, I think, a little bit. I know that Geno's got DK Metcalf and company. Arizona, they got Trey McBride, had a good year as well, 81 catches. can help out a quarterback, good tight end. We've seen that here in New England. But yeah, that's my list right now. I know that is up for big time debate. But that's what I went with, George. What's your list look like, buddy?
So one, I went Stafford, and I don't hate the Purdy pick. I think Purdy's great. He's perfect for where he's playing. He's smart enough. He's accurate. He's athletic enough. And if Kyle Shanahan loves you, man, and if he says you're good, then I'd take Kyle Shanahan and that massive brain over anyone else's. But I just go Stafford because I'm talking quarterback, and I want to go with him there. Like, as a passer, and he's up there in age, but his ability is still there. His huge arm. He was durable as hell. Didn't miss any games from 2011 to 2018. He's always going to be there under center. Now, banged up the last few years, but he's older. But I still give Matthew Stafford, and with the receiving core he has, Cooper Kupp, Tutu Atwell, Puka Nacua, and working with Sean McVay, I love him there, so I put him 1. Number 2, I do give Brock Purdy, and it's his IQ, his accuracy is great, and it's at an elite level. Matt Stafford, I just give the edge of his arm strength. 3, this is the one, and I don't love it, Adam. I don't love it. But 3, I go Geno Smith, and I think he's going to have a huge fall-off year because Shane Waldron's now gone. We'll see what happens with their receivers. We saw what happened when he fell off when Dave Canales left his quarterback's coach, and it's Geno Smith. So I really I don't like this ranking.
You talked about growing up in New Jersey, man. You've seen plenty of Geno Smith. Look, I know he's a different guy in Seattle, but anyway.
He's going to regress to the means. Like water finds its level. It's going to be Geno Smith eventually. For Kyler, I just can't get behind. Doesn't stay healthy. I don't know how committed he is to being a football player, athletically, skill level wise. He is one of the most dynamic guys in the league, but just doesn't piece it all together. And is that being a victim of Cliff Kingsbury being your head coach and couldn't figure it out? And Jonathan Gannon in just one season being the head coach with the Cardinals, we see him be more competitive, more physical, and they addressed it in the draft, right? I go Geno over Kyler, and I guess it's a guy I trust more on Sundays. And I think that says more about what I think of Kyler than what it is of what I think on Geno. I don't really like my list. I really like your list. But I like my 1-2. But I hate my 3-4. Does that make sense, Adam?
Well, I understand that. And I don't think 3-4 is it's just great. It's kind of like a toss-up for me, honestly. I gave Kyler the edge only because I think the ceiling is still right. He can still get to another level potentially. He's a lot younger. And I think, you mentioned water reaching its level with Geno Smith, and I just think that's going to happen eventually. But I get your argument with Stafford. He's the more established quarterback. He's the more conventional quarterback, former number 1 overall pick, a Super Bowl champ, and I get all that. I just think a lot of it to me had to do with the weapons surrounding Brock Purdy as well. We just talked about Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, we didn't even talk about George Kittle. And Deebo Samuel. So yeah, and the offensive line for the Niners is good. And Kyle Shanahan. So I think he's really set up for success. And I love the story too.
You see, you talk about the system. And Brock Purdy's a great system quarterback. He's a great game manager. He's one of the more elite game managers, and there's nothing wrong with that because there are guys that could be game managers, like a Baker Mayfield or a Geno Smith, and eventually they hit their wall. For Purdy, I don't think he's hit that yet. But with Stafford, it's just as a quarterback, as a guy that can make every throw on the field in a great way, he does it. And Stafford's going down. He has a Super Bowl ring. He has the gaudy numbers, like 56,000 career passing yards. He's going down as an all-time great, so I'm giving him that nod there. And a lot of great years of him with Calvin Johnson, who, in my opinion, is the greatest wide receiver to ever play. The greatest football player I've ever watched is Calvin Johnson. It's him and Patrick Mahomes. Had a lot of years with him, just wasted away by the Lions. It is a trajectory of a career, and it shows it. What Brock Purdy stepped into and what the 49ers fell into in a way, and how successful he is already. Imagine Matt Stafford in that type of scenario, in that type of situation. That man would have 4 rings by now with his ability. And I guess that's how I'm looking at Matt Stafford. Maybe there's somewhere deep down in my heart where I have a soft spot for Matt Stafford. I don't know, Adam. I'm trying to figure it out.
Guy. Yeah. Well, I was just thinking about that too. It's just it's funny how that trade went down and Jared Goff went to Detroit, and then Jared Goff got a $212 million extension because he got 1 game away, 3 points away from the Super Bowl. It really is. It's crazy how it worked out for both teams. That's wild.
Sometimes two sides both get the benefit of a trade. And credit to Jared Goff because he gets traded to the Detroit Lions. It's basically a money shed move. Detroit brings him in. He's okay his first year. He's good his second year. Hits the ground running, of course, with him and Ben Johnson as offensive coordinator. And again, situation-wise, Jared Goff, great offensive line, great receivers, great weapons, great play caller, like what Brock Purdy has. And you said it too, so close to even being in the Super Bowl. If Dan Campbell kicks 2 field goals, maybe it's the Lions being on the cusp of a Super Bowl, maybe winning, instead of it's on the other side with Purdy coming up just short. Hey, Adam, this was a fun one being on Foxboro Rush with you, my man. I love your ranking, though. I got to give that to you. I love your ranking.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. It was good being here. And, as we were talking about earlier, I got to get a lift in, talking about Christian McCaffrey and his condition is getting me fired up a little bit. So it's either I do that or some yard work. So one or the other, or maybe both.
You do both. I was going to say you do both. You get the pump going before you get out on the lawnmower. Check out Adam whenever you want to hear from him on Extra Time. That's dropping weekly wherever you get your podcasts, YouTube, Nesson.com, Facebook, Twitch, and on Spotify as well. And, of course, catch Foxboro Rush dropping 3 days a week every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. For all your Patriots and NFL talk, same spot, same time, same place wherever you get your podcasts. For George Balekji and Adam Pellerin, thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Appreciate it a ton. We'll see you next time.